Environmental attack. It is a story we first brought you back in February. KWQC's Morgan Otier reporting that histoplasma is a fungus growing in the Midwest, sometimes causing serious infection and even death.
It's common growing in the Ohio River Valley and right here in the Mississippi River Valley where we live. We all breathe in the histoplasmosis spores, but the fungus affects some differently than others. In February, we shared the story of Cody Fry, a young Davenport man whose histoplasmosis infection turned deadly.
Every time we did go to the hospital, when he started coughing up blood, I could see in his face that he was worried. I mean, he would start crying. I never heard of the histoplasmosis fungus until it affected my son.
And Cody died last October, but his story prompted many of you to share your own struggles with this sometimes deadly infection. One local woman managed to avoid that outcome after doctors found an advanced histoplasmosis infection in her lungs.
I was in barns, I was in straw, I was out in the fields. I had much exposure to birds.
Connie Kramer calls rural Illinois home. She always has, even growing up to marry a farmer.
Yes, I was the right-hand man.
But that rural life she loves is also responsible for making her sick.
I developed a cough, and it just hung on. Some days it'd go away, and then it'd come back, and I just kept going like that, back and forth.
She didn't know it at the time, but Kramer was suffering from a histoplasmosis infection.
It's more concentrated, perhaps, in old places where there have been bats and birds living for a long time. That fungus particularly likes to live in that kind of environment.
Dr. Douglas Hornick is a lung specialist at the University of Iowa.
I see lots of patients with histoplasmosis. So it's really a Midwestern fungus, and all of us are probably infected with it at some time.
But some people get sicker than others, people like Kramer.
It's important not to let something like that go if it hangs on.
Eventually, doctors gave Kramer a chest x-ray and learned the cause of her mystery cough.
They saw the size and the shape of a peanut in a shell, is what it looked like.
It was some sort of mass growing larger inside her lungs, riddled with a histoplasmosis infection.
I was very scared because it was totally out of the blue other than the cough.
And here's some of that mass. They look like rocks, but they're not. They're calcifications removed by surgeons along with part of her right lung.
When I got histoplasmosis, they told me it was from bird droppings, and they disintegrate into the soil and then come up into the air. You breathe them, and then you start having problems.
The dangerous surgery was performed soon after her diagnosis. Then, after a 3-month struggle to breathe normally, Kramer created a goal for herself.
We had a family wedding, and my husband and I danced, and I told him I want to be able to dance at this wedding reception, and I did.
A long road, but Kramer feels lucky that doctors caught her histoplasmosis in time.
It's more or less a thing of the past, but it's always in the back of my mind.
Morgan Otier, KWQC-TV 6 News.
Next week, the story of an Illinois woman who says she feels fortunate for her histoplasmosis infection. We'll show you why next Wednesday night at 5 in part 2 of Environmental Attack.
Covering breaking